Hello everyone, and welcome to Hill Street. Today's story is Every Night I've Been Hearing Inhuman Screams by Rosie Rose. If you end up enjoying this story, please leave a like. And if you enjoy hearing stories from me, please subscribe and become a resident of Hill Street. And let me know how I'm doing in the comments. Now, let's get to this nightmare. Listen, I know what I'm about to say will sound crazy. And trust me, if it wasn't for the fact that I experienced this firsthand, I wouldn't even believe it. But the truth is, I did experience this, and what I am saying is true. And something like this happened. All I ask is that whoever reads this heeds my warning and doesn't end up like me. It was about 9 weeks ago that I moved into my new house. It was a little bit out of town and surrounded by woods, but it was cheap, so I thought it was a good steal. How wrong I was. If I could go back, I would never have gotten the house. Sorry, I'm getting off track. Anyways, the house was in pretty good shape and more than enough room for me since I live alone. The owner who was selling it did act a little weird and even had an almost pity look in their eyes when I agreed to buy it. When they showed me the house, they remarked, "You know, if I was you, I wouldn't live out here so close to the woods." I shrugged off their comment to them, just trying to make a joke. Little did I know, they were trying to warn me. After I bought the house, I had all my stuff moved in, and for the first 4 days of living there, I had no problems. The house was everything I wanted. That was until the 5th night came around. I got home from work around 11 p.m. I worked an evening shift from about 3 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. and was getting ready for bed. I had laid down in bed and was just drifting off when I heard what sounded like a mountain lion screaming. While it did sound off, I brushed it off, seeing how they do frequent the area, and I do live near the woods. This, however, would occur every night. Sometimes the screaming would last 5 minutes, and sometimes it would last up to 12 minutes. Sometimes the screaming would stop and then start up 30 minutes to an hour later. After 2 weeks of living there, the sound of claws scratching against my house and windows would occur with the screaming. I had gotten enough of it and decided to check around my house the next morning. Upon inspection the next morning, I confirmed there was something outside my house. There were claw marks that varied in depth and looked really rugged. Whatever it was had very uneven claws. I called the local wildlife services and had them come take a look. They inspected the marks and listened to what I had to say about my sleepless nights, and came to the conclusion that it was a mountain lion, possibly one with rabies, seeing as how it was so comfortable being near human life. I was advised to not go outside at all at night, to avoid possible confrontation with it. They assured me they would do their best to capture it. I appreciated their help. I thought that after that, everything would go back to normal, but that was just the start of it. For a few nights after that, I didn't have any problems with the mountain lion, but everything quickly escalated after just 4 nights. That night, it came back, but it had prey as well. I heard the prey scream as the mountain lion killed it. It was so close I swore I could hear the sound of its bones breaking, skin tearing, and flesh being ripped off of it. The thought and image of that made my stomach turn, and I rushed to the bathroom to throw up. I couldn't get back to sleep, so I waited till morning to go out and check out what exactly happened. Knowing what I know now, I should have taken that as a warning. In the morning, I checked the backside of my house, which faced the woods, and right where my bedroom window is, there was a big pool of almost dry blood, with some pieces of flesh, fur, and bone. Holding my mouth and forcing my bile back down, I followed the blood trail that led towards the woods. Just a little bit into the woods, I discovered what was left of the prey. It was completely mutilated, so much so I couldn't tell what it was. Its guts were strewn out, with some pieces of fur covering some parts. There were some bones, including what looked to be a bitten in half skull. I couldn't take it anymore, and turned and dry heaved. Luckily, I hadn't eaten anything so far. I felt sick to my stomach, so I called into work to get the day off, then called the wildlife services. Once they got to my house, I'd showed them what I discovered. Even though they looked sick to the stomach, they cleaned up the poor animal. After they checked the area, and upon not finding anything, left, but told me to call again if there was anything else like this. Stuff like this continued on for another 3 weeks. Sometimes I would find dead animals from the mountain lion's late night snack, or I would find more claw marks on my house or in the ground. I even started feeling like I was being watched by something. You can call me crazy all you like, but I was, and still am, convinced that it knew what it was doing, and it did what it did to torment me. Over 3 weeks, my mental and physical health suffered. I would even start to hallucinate that there was something in my house, but upon further inspection, there would be nothing there. I didn't sleep much, started to eat less, and my performance at work was horrible. I had finally had enough and wanted to confront this mountain lion. I was convinced it wasn't a mountain lion, but something worse, and against my better judgment, I wanted to face it and kill it. This was the biggest mistake of my life. When night came, I grabbed my flashlight, my shotgun shells, and headed out into the dark night. As I walked farther into the woods, I could hear both distant and close sounds of twigs snapping, and the sound of growls. I shivered in cold fear, but my determination commanded my legs to move forward. I continued on, but soon heard those inhuman screams. They sent chills down my spine and made me stop dead in my tracks. The screams were so close and so loud, they pierced my ears. Off to my left, I could hear the bushes rustling. Thankfully, I snapped to my senses and dodged out of the way as something jumped at me. Although I didn't get fully out of the way, it still managed to cut my side just a little. Even though it was just scratched, it hurt so badly, burned like fire, and wouldn't stop bleeding. Holding my elbow against my wound, I focused my flashlight where it had disappeared back into the bushes and shakily put the shotgun shells in my shotgun. I saw movement and aimed and shot. I figured it wouldn't hit it with how fast it was moving, but the damn thing started laughing. It was guttural, deep, animalistic, and human all at one time. The laughter echoed out among the trees. That was enough to make my fear win my body over, and I took off running towards my house. I didn't realize I had walked in so deep, but apparently I had. I heard it chasing me, still laughing. I was its prey, and it was just playing with me as it hunted me down. What did I possibly think I could have done to something as evil and horrible as it? Why the heck didn't the previous house owner warn me? These thoughts kept going through my mind as I ran as fast as I could. I would trip over tree roots that hadn't been there before, but my determination to not let it get any closer kept me upright and running. I finally saw the tree line edge and rejoiced. I knew I could get to the safety of my house. Just as I got to the edge, a clawed hand grabbed my leg and yanked. I screamed as I felt my leg break. I rolled onto my back and saw the thing right over me. It was big, possibly 9 feet, about 2.7 meters tall. It had all the features of an animal, but it also had human features. It looked like a mixture of a wolf, deer, and a human. It even had some vines on it, and it smelled like death. Just what the hell was this thing? It leaned down over me, and I saw its horrendous, unnatural smile, full of razor-sharp long teeth. I turned my head away, looking for my shotgun. It was a little far from my hands. If I could reach it, I might have a chance. It laughed, snarled, and growled, scoping me out. Seeing my reaction, getting joy from it. Thankfully, that allowed me to reach my shotgun. I grabbed it and had it loaded. It leaned a little farther back and grabbed my face. Right then, I positioned the shotgun and shot it right in the head. It screamed and fell back. I struggled up and half limped, half ran back to my house. I locked all the doors and windows and took cover in my closet. I could hear it moving around outside. It called for me in an almost human voice, but I wouldn't be fooled. Finally, the sun came and I could no longer hear it. I struggled to walk to my phone and call 911. I had no idea what I could say, so I told them I was attacked by a mountain lion. The ambulance, police, and wildlife services showed up. I was taken to the hospital and had my wounds and broken leg attended to. The police asked many questions, but I gave the bare minimum of answers and lied about some. I mean, who would believe me that something like that monster attacked me? Once I was released, I went back to that house, packed my stuff, and left. As I left the house, I saw it standing among the tree line, just watching me go. I floored the gas, and I never looked back. I contacted the county later and told them that the house is inhabitable to anyone and asked for it to be destroyed. After much convincing, they agreed, only because the previous house owner stepped up and confirmed it. I wanted to be mad at the previous house owner, but I couldn't. They dealt with that stuff longer than me. Well, that's my story. I'm writing this from a hotel room to warn everyone that reads this. Don't buy a house for cheap, especially if it's near the woods. You might just experience something similar to I. Stay safe out there, people. Reality is truly scarier than fiction.